Welcome to my final project. I will be your host on this small video journey. When I first received the assignment, I was really troubled. I didn't have any special hobbies of my own or interests that I knew much of, until I realized that the one thing I couldn't live without was music. I am a huge fan of music in multiple genres, but today I want to talk specifically about one genre, K-pop. As a Korean growing up in Korea, I was flushed with all these different types of Korean groups since I was a toddler. When I moved to Vietnam, I lost interest in them and listened to artists like Taylor Swift and One Direction, but around 4th grade, my sister got hooked on Korean bands and I followed her footsteps about a year later, and have been listening to K-pop ever since. My all-time favorite group is a 6-member girl group named G-Friend, and I have been listening to their music since 2015, and have pride that I am a fan of them. Now you may be wondering how this relates to any of the lessons we covered in our Chemistry 11 unit, and to that I have an answer: percentage yield. We all know that members of a band has to share lines throughout their songs, and this line distribution discussions have been popular within the K-pop community ever since I knew about it. I am going to talk specifically about G-Friends since I know them best when it comes to line distributions. In a Korean group, there is a member that is titled the main vocal, who usually gets the most lines since they are the most talented vocally within the group. K-pop is famous for having unfair line distributions, with giving one or two members the most lines while the rest of the members are left with little to no lines. In G-Friend's case, a member named Yuju is titled the main vocal. At the start of their music career, Yuju is the one who gets the most lines in their songs, while a member named Sohwon receives the least. Now, how this relates to percentage yield is that most line distributions are calculated as a percentage to show who got the most lines with the song. I will be using multiple examples of G-Friend's song to show how this specific topic could relate to percentage yield. G-Friend's first level title track, Glass Bead, has a very unfair line distribution, and here is why. We'll be using videos that have already measured their percentages. In this chart, we can see that Yuju, the main vocal of the group, has the most lines with 42 seconds, while the member with the least lines, Sohwon, got 11 seconds. When put into percentage, Yuju has received approximately 35% of the whole song, while Sohwon only received 9%, which isn't really surprising as the K-pop industry functions this way. Here we can see that the rest of the members' lines are also closer to Sohwon's rather than Yuju's. Just an additional information, but this song was the first ever song to bring out G-Friend to the rest of the world. Our next song that we will be using to compare the line distributions is their first full album's title track, Navalera. Right away in their final line distribution, we can see that so many have changed since the first song. The members Yuju and Eunha now seem to have almost equal amount of lines, while Sohwon has went from the last to second last, with member Omji taking the last place. These statistics show that the songs still do not have fair distributions, as Yuju and Eunha both seem to take up almost 30% of the line distributions, while members Umji and Sohwon have less than 10%. Member Yuju is seen to have more lines than the members Sohwon, Yerin, and Omji combined. Very unfair if you ask me. Some additional information about this song is that it gave G-Friend a total of 14 wins in music shows, making it a total of 29 wins for 2016 for G-Friend, with Rough, their previous title track, gaining them 15 wins and also their first ever win in a music show. The next song we will be comparing is the title track for G-Friend's 5th mini-album, Love Whisper. The song was released back in 2017, approximately a year after Navalera, the previous song that we covered as mentioned. Right away when we see the line distributions, we can see that it has gone downhill from the last album, with Yuju receiving 50 seconds worth of lines, the highest yet. Sohwon, who received the lowest lines once again, has gotten only 9 seconds of lines. She sang 2 lines in the whole song, which is kind of sad, especially since she's my favorite member. Turning this into percentage, Yuju has gotten approximately 33%, while Sohwon received only 6%, her lowest yet. The other members' lines have also seemed to decrease a little, but thankfully Umji did escape from being last place this time. Some additional information about Love Whisper is that the song was choreographed by Son Sung-duk, the main choreographer for BTS, a famous Korean boy band. Our next song that we will be using to compare the line distributions is from their 6th mini album, Time for the Moon Night. We can see right away in the graphs that this is the first time Yuju, our main vocal, is not first place. Instead, Eunha, our lead vocal, has a 5-second difference with Yuju taking the first place throne. This line distribution seems a lot more fair as the highest percentage for this is 29%, which decreased from Love Whisper. Although Sohwon has only received 7.7% of the song's total line distributions, she has 12 seconds of lines. It might sound small, but it is a huge improvement compared to the second song. Eunha here has 49 seconds of lines, which is a lot to be very honest, but still a small improvement. Some additional information about Time for the Moon Night is that it brought Jifren 12 wins in music shows, once again bringing them back into the spotlight of Korea's general public's attention. In 2019, Jifren released an EP named Fever Season, with Fever as their title track. A lot of things have changed since Time for the Moon Night, as Yuju had went on a month hiatus, which fans suspected to be because of her scarred voice for singing too much for a long time. As for the line distributions, you can already see that Fever is the fairest compared to the previous songs. Eunha once again takes first place while Sohwon receives the least lines, but this time the line distribution is more evenly put, with Eunha receiving 35 seconds and Sohwon singing for 22 seconds, the longest by far. That is almost twice the amount she sang for Time for the Moon Night. As for when these are converted into percentages, Eunha takes approximately 23% of the whole song, while Sohwon takes up 14%, once again her highest out of all the songs mentioned previously. The other members in between seem to also have an even amount of line distribution, as from Yuju downward to Sohwon there is only a little bit of difference. Fever Season brought Jifren 6 wins in music shows and was the first time Jifren explored the tropical genre of their entire music career. This was released in 2019, the year where the first time in history Jifren was excluded in all Korean award shows. It's still a mystery to this day for fans, and we suspect that Jifren has been put on a block list by big entertainment companies. Jifren released their 8th mini album Labyrinth in February 2020 with Crossroads as their first title track. Right off, as we look at the line distribution of the title track, we can see that Yuju has once again taken the throne of the first place with a total of 39 seconds, while the last place winner has switched from Sohwon to Eumji once again with 18 seconds. This is still an improvement from the last time Eumji got her last place, but the line distribution seems less fair than Fever. We can see that Yuju has received 25% of the total lines of this song, which is a little higher than Fever, but still reasonable as she is the main vocalist. While Eumji has received about 12%, which isn't that bad considering the last time she got the least lines, she only received 7% of the whole song. Some information about this album is that it was the first album Jifren had released after their company, Source Music's acquisition with Big Hit, which is the current entertainment company that owns BTS. This did put a lot of pressure on Jifren and their fans, and we could tell the members were having a hard time as their 7th win in a music show, member Eunha was seen crying. Lastly, Jifren's most recent album, Song of the Sirens, was released on July 13th of 2020, with Apple as their title track. Right off the bat, we can tell that this song is the fairest line distribution I've ever seen a group have, with Eunha as the highest in the rank and Sohwon still on the lowest, but their percentages only having approximately a 4% difference. Eunha is shown to have 37 seconds as the total song's line distribution, but Sohwon, who received the least lines, still got 30 seconds, making only a 7-second difference. Their percentages are also 18% and 14% respectively, which shows that creating songs with a fair line distribution is absolutely possible, but the K-pop industry doesn't like doing that. Personally, I was very happy on this because Sohwon finally received more than her usual 10 seconds. Something to know about this comeback is that Song of the Sirens brought in more than 70,000 album sales, which isn't their most sold album but still really high. The album was not as successful as the other albums because Jifren did a new concept that the general public did not take nicely, with posts talking bad about them trending daily, and it was really just a dark time and negative time. I remember not wanting to go into social media because of all the backlash it was receiving. The comeback did receive a lot of positive feedbacks from the international fan base, but the Koreans did not enjoy their new concept, boycotting them and their charting being the lowest of all their songs. It might seem like this isn't related much to chemistry, but all these calculations of percentages and comparing each song's final statistics is in a way related to how chemistry works. By the way, I will be using G-frame photos from here on as fillers. Anyways, chemistry is a very complicated subject, and we always compare one thing to another. For example, how many chlorine ions are needed to match one sodium ion? The answer is 1. What about magnesium chloride? How many ions are needed of chlorine this time? It's 2. Here we can compare and see that there are more chlorine ions needed to create a magnesium chloride bond than sodium chloride. Simple things like this can relate chemistry to the real world we live in, and even to the music we listen to. We can compare Suwon's lines distributions, for example, where at first her song Class Speed is given only 9% of the lines in the song, while in Apple, their latest song, she is given 14%, which is almost double the amount she first received. By this, we can conclude that the line distributions are slowly becoming fairer with each new song release. Since this is the last project that we will be handing in, I just wanted to add that it was really fun being in your class and that I'm very thankful that things turned out well with my grades and also the knowledge that I earned with this summer school course. I hope you have a wonderful day and the rest of 2020 a great year. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the new piece of knowledge you earned with this long video.